Everybody. This is our first little AMA here with our fractional CMO Grady. It's going to be a good time. He's going to be introducing himself, talking about who he is, what he does, and how he's here to benefit collective. So we can jump right into it. Grady, if you want to introduce yourself and who you are.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It came by the way of meeting with Collective just a few weeks ago through the great team at Ashore DeFi, which I think is a great tool for founders. I'm glad that you guys have that aligned with this project. It shows a lot of transparency and the commitment of people to be open about their past, who they are as builders. And it's also great, I think, because just like this team, you see a lot of people building projects in Web3 that are like multifaceted founders, people having multiple businesses. Is really common. So it's great to be able to see where the crossover is across the teams and the people you're interacting with. Personally, myself, I've had kind of like the fortune or misfortune, I guess, of being a decentralized chief revenue officer or chief marketing officer for about 13 years now, having been entirely remote and leading remote teams for multinationals that entire time. So to me, the last couple of years, the main disruptor has been turning cameras on. That and getting on voice calls has gotten significantly easier with project teams. Before that, it was a lot of international calling and stuff. So I worked for 7 years with B2B corporations, primarily helping to build multinational subsidiaries in the US, which translation there, I was mainly working with Asian manufacturers that were penetrating the US and North American markets for the first time. And so building out their sales, marketing, and distribution arms for them. And after that period of time, I decided, one, I didn't want to work for other people anymore. So I went entirely on my own with Tides Marketing as my LLC and started my own fractional CMO business and building decentralized teams before I really kind of knew what decentralization of Web3 was. I was pretty much tech focused at that point in time, but not yet into Web3. And I also launched my first startup too, which was a social commerce platform. So saw the future of integrated technology where you have field selling and field experience along with digital asset usage, et cetera, which led me into understanding and trying to research how does blockchain really help and affect across multiple industries. And so to build my startups, I've always worked as a fractional CMO to offset costs and to bootstrap the business. I started to understand that not only did I need to get a better understanding of working with technology companies, but particularly blockchain businesses. So in late 2018, I started researching blockchain as a builder. 2019, I started to shift my entire focus over to Web3 and DeFi because at that point in time, DeFi, and still today, DeFi is one of the most applicable uses of blockchain technology to adaptive audiences. And so I've been working with teams throughout the entire last cycle. I spent a bit of time as head of marketing for GDA Capital, which is a marketing agency / venture firm out of Canada, entirely focused on more DeFi, some consumer products, and a lot of traditional institutional finance utilizing crypto technology. Then after that, I left them. I became a partner of Contango Digital, which is a venture firm out of another venture firm out of Canada. And we primarily do investments in the infrastructure space, as well as have a finance-focused team as well. So again, there we're looking at more exchange and infrastructure type projects, but also crypto DeFi projects there. And at that time too, I launched Tides DAO, which was an amendment from my original marketing agency, taking the decentralized model even further. So if you guys mind, I'll take a break for a quick question, see if you have any questions on that, but then I can talk a little bit about how Tides and Tides DAO operate.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. If you guys have any questions, definitely drop them in AMA questions. You can also raise your hand if you want to come up and chat. But yeah, if you have anything you want to ask Grady or ask us, you can just drop them in AMA questions. That's pretty cool, though. I didn't know you were up in working up here in the Great North by me. That's pretty cool. How long were you doing that for?
Well, I'm in the middle of Wisconsin, so I'm in the middle of nowhere, coldness. It just so happened when the deeper I dove, and I don't know if this is my experience or if it is more common, but the deeper that I started to work in Web3, the more my exposure to Canadian-based companies was. And I should say, actually, Canadian-based teams of like, some Caribbean island companies, and more frequently now Dubai-based companies. But I think it's happened because we were pretty much focused on, like I said, bridging traditional finance into crypto. A lot of the people that I worked with had been in the earlier run-ups in 2017 and so, and they had kind of already seen the value across token investors and wanted to help drive that into traditional portfolios. And I have to say, like, what working with the Canadians has done for me has really helped to understand, because if we think about the US market, and again, this is just my opinion, the US market is pretty heavily regulated, but Canadians take everything up a step. And their government and their industry itself has been working together on regulation for quite a long time. So it was really kind of exciting for me because it's certainly a lot more forward or long-term thinking than what it is working with consumer projects per se. So meaning that, like, we've been working on securities-based languages for a long time, and also like working to get not only good, solid online communities built, but also how do we integrate with an existing institutional marketing materials, getting into that traditional flow of those heavily restricted vertical channels, which to me was always exciting because that's where my background initially is in tight verticals.
Interesting. So you're, you say more traditional. You've been doing quite a lot of marketing, not only in Web3, but also in Web2. Is that right?
Yeah. So my focus, since I started on my own 6 years ago, my focus has entirely been it's either been B2B tech, some B2B SaaS, because B2B tech and Web3 like are long shots, and B2B SaaS pays the bills. Monthly is a blessing. And then Web3. But I think for the last 3 years in particular, I try to just have one Web2 based client, again, to kind of stabilize, pay the bills, and a majority of my focus is on Web3 because that's where my interest is as a founder and founders. Yeah.
So focused on startups as well, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. Again, a lot in the B2B space, and the reason for that too is that whether you're a consumer project like an NFT set or a token, or whether you're a DApp and an infrastructure project, your go-to-market is a lot more aligned with traditional tech B2B marketing than it is consumer tech marketing. Primarily because we don't do ads, right? We can't do ads. We have to grow organically and build around community based. Yeah.
So I'd say the reason that I'm really excited about having you and the team with us is that you have exposure to both sides. I think that there's a big need in Web3 for more of a professional marketing campaign and a marketing team. I think it's really lacked on and not touched on very well in the space. So that's why I'm really excited to have you guys here, is because you guys have a wide variety of experience. So I wanted to bring attention to that.
Exactly. And I think the way that I harness it, so like as a marketer, I've always avoided having a traditional agency for many reasons. One is the obvious overhead and the hassle of building a non-investable or non-scalable business. But the most important reason is because to be blunt, I think agencies kind of suck in the sense that like they have a pattern of what they do, and you as a project, you come in and you fit in their pattern. And that's not reality. Like every single client I've had, which is just in the last cycle alone through GDA, Contango, and personally through Tides, has been over probably 125 or so projects now I've had leadership exposure on. Everyone's different, and if I bring any patterns into the relationship, it's primarily around organization of team, and helping to build out and right fit like what's needed at the time. And so like with Tides marketing and the team that we're bringing on board here, I do love to add in both freelance elements full-time elements, and then also some agencies for campaign-based things. And that allows me to be really in touch with what the product and the audience needs, and building towards that. And I think particularly what gravitated me towards collective finance too is that, like, in my opinion, again, I think that the short-term audience is definitely the digital asset crypto native users, people interested in yield farming, etc. But really, the long-term audience for this project and similar digital assets is standard investment portfolios. I mean, to be honest, it's my neighbor. People that want to have returns from their investments beyond just believing that Google's a great company, will always go up and it will never become regulated, if you follow me. And so I think it's a broad audience, and it's one that's growing in adoption over time. And to be honest, I think we've also, as an industry, done a pretty good job of teaching people how to create wallets and to interact with the assets. So I don't think that's the battle anymore. Now it's starting to cut through the noise and positioning digital assets like the CLGD token and collective finances tokens in general as part of your regular portfolio that you're managing through Vanguard or somebody like that in your mind. So again, that's kind of a broad, but in the short run, we're entirely focused, the team and I are entirely focused around bringing visibility, awareness, and then also some additional transparency and authority to what the team is building here.
Awesome.
Yeah. You keep on mentioning the team. Do you want to go a little bit in depth about the people that you found and who you brought on and stuff?
Yeah, so this is part of the benefit too of having worked across a lot of projects, is I'm building a network constantly. I live as a fractional or freelance asset. You live off your network, and so the team that we built, to be fair to them, I'm not going to dox anybody today, but they're all pretty approachable because they're freelance assets at this time. But they've worked with me across several different jobs. The person running BD, for instance. I've used him on infrastructure projects such as like base chains. I've also used him across DeFi, and he was formerly the head of marketing for Protocol early on in like 2019, 2020 in the fintech space. And so he's got a lot of experience with working with alpha groups, doing partnership in BD, particularly more along the professional audience of the industry. And then as far as the other members that we're bringing on right away, although you have a great social and community team, there's an asset that I've also worked with on some DeFi projects that are consumer edged as well. And he brings a really great touch to helping us scale and grow our audience with focus. So for like a project like this, I think one of the most important things, obviously it is getting visibility and getting scale, but also being intentional with your followers, because we're still at the point where we're building out a long-term audience. So having high quality followers that will help introduce us and like create consistent, organically driven content is that major value. And so that team member is, if I cut through the noise of that, not only is he great at doing just social graphics and posts itself, but primarily is one of the best reply guys I know out there.
That's funny.
Intentional reply guys.
Yeah.
And done a great job building multiple brands and also personal social. And then to me, the other main pillar is so now we've got messaging a little bit. We've got visibility and awareness through the expansion into alpha groups, and other syndicates, and also other areas where you can find people that are digitally asset native friendly. That's a mouthful, but also looking for an option to diversify what their holdings are. For instance, if we can find a syndicate looking to rebalance a little bit on stable tokens over the last week here, and add some CLF as a secondary option and run it to CLG. I think that's gold. Excuse me. I think that'll be a great ad for us.
Mm-hmm.
So the last pillar, the last pillar is PR to me, and I think a lot of projects, of course, in Web3, PR is really common, but like PR is often overlooked because PR helps to win the battle early on search and SEO. It also does not only gets positioning and visibility, but the positioning and authority, I think, is the aspect that really is kind of underlooked. Certainly anyone can create news releases now. It's really simple. But working with an agency that can position you with a release from credible sources and have your release like maybe covered by a journalist is a really good boon for us. And the team that I'm working with there, I've worked with for a majority of the projects because they're a great fit at early stage level. And they're based out of New York. They've got very long-standing relationships with both finance and European and North American press. So excited for what they're going to bring. And I think we should have some releases out this week already too, kind of announcing our pre-sale and what we're doing.
Awesome. We actually had a question here from Doc. He was asking, what are the biggest mistakes that you see new protocols in the DeFi space make regarding marketing and advertising?
Well, the biggest mistake far and away, and it's easy to overlook in the hype cycles, but like the biggest mistake is just growing an audience and launching a community for the sake of growing an audience and launching a community. And I can say as an investor, like that's a pretty common, I mean, well, not pretty common, it's like every project, because they feel a lot of pressure that having a strong, engaged community is a necessary part of an investment. But the reality is, as a marketer, I don't think about scale at all. I think about convertibility. How likely is the audience to actually utilize the product, or in this case, like purchase the token? And so one of the most common things is like clear buying of followers, and it's also one of the easiest calling cards to notice, at least for me as a marketer, when you look at projects and their Twitter handles, etc.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I think that's great. Is there anything else you'd like to add on what we're going to be doing and stuff like that, or what do you think?
I think over the next couple, I'm pretty visible, and like as the team, I think will attest to. Like I'm jumping in with my feet, first into this. We just got engaged over the weekend. We're starting quickly so we can really drive into the pre-sale. My main focus for the team right now is to get a solid base. Like for me, a big win for the project and a big win on what we're focusing on is being able to have not really a large pool of initial token buyers, but a pool of token buyers that have good backgrounds that we know will scale upwards. That as we can leverage this community, and we can leverage each of you and your experiences. We've got some campaigns coming up that will focus around your experiences with buying and helping to drive social proof around that. That's really the primary focus right now is being able to clearly explain to a larger audience, exposing a larger audience than what we have today to the project. But by that point, I mean mainly like twofold, maybe threefold. It's not significantly large at this point. Get through a solid pre-sale, and then we can start to look at focusing a larger build out towards the token and platform launch here later this month. That's my main focus, and we'll accompany that, like I said, primarily organically driven tactics to approach the I hate to say crypto native, but like DeFi friendly or digital asset holder audience, I think is the great one. Because to me, I think a lot of this community, correct me if I'm wrong, is they're less likely to chase an ape and more likely to be seeking out investment opportunities.
Yeah, that's the goal here. Definitely, we're pretty clear stating this isn't your average degen project or anything. This is built around sustainability and longevity.
Yep. What other questions do you guys have for me as a team?
I do. I mean, if you could kind of, give everybody a quick, 1,000-foot view of how it's going to look and what they can kind of expect to see as far as progress goes, like what's going to be taking place and how we're going to be, moving around on these platforms and I guess, how that's all going to work.
Yeah. So as we shift from like really focusing on this initial burst, I would say campaign to really drive towards pre-sale, we're going to start to see. By the way, none of this is like an indication of past experience. This team, I'm really impressed with how quickly the team engaged, how fast they move on and everything. In fact, we just shot up some ideas for a campaign over this weekend. By the time I was done and ready to be like finalizing it and thinking it through, it was already live. So it's amazing. One of the things that I think is going to drive major lift for us is as we move out of the pre-sale rush here, is really starting to add like that base of what we'd call traditional marketing. I think you can start to see like regularized newsletters and articles. SEO is long term is going to be, and short term, to be honest, is going to be really valuable within this space, this revenue driving asset, or like somewhat along the yield farming space as well. You're starting to see more DeFi tokens that have to compete against ETF and traditional finances as far as the spaces for the traditional investor. So I'll be broadening up the marketing to start to focus on pulling those that aren't maybe digitally asset focused and making it easy, especially as there's some exciting alpha, I think, coming up as far as being able to get on to digital assets really easily with this project. And they're beyond that too, it's really we've done a great job of building up Rush, and you have a really strong community and a strong social gathering. Now it's like starting to sprinkle on with additional funds like into broader consciousness. So I think coming out of the raise, I think we should start to see an increase in both PR as well as also paid articles and place articles that will help put us more in a traditional mainstream awareness. I've done a lot of work in the past with Blockworks, and I'd love to have our products associated with some of the newsletters and podcasts that they offer. That's very traditional. I hate to say traditional finance, but it's like, your uncle, your father-in-law's investors material.
Yeah.
But those are really a great opportunity for us. And then, of course, continuing to build into the digital asset native. And when I say that, like, I think there's where I've had a lot of success within the Web3 crypto audience has been in working with angel investors, traditional investors, LPs, like I said, within the DAO, founders of project, people that are comfortable with assets on chain and already have it and are looking for portfolio solutions. They're looking for alternatives, like I said before, to stable coins, things that will generate yield. That's the whole value add of what the Terra Luna ecosystem was. So there's opportunity within that audience segment, and it hasn't dried out. So we'll continue to add into that too, and I hate to say the word like, we'll package up the marketing a lot neater. So one of my personal things is, as I'm working with projects, it's always about putting processes around everything and getting things out, whether it's our own platform or common platforms, so we can streamline it and be as efficient and as effective as possible with the team that we have, and then right fit team as we scale. So yeah.
I think that's really important to know too, is having the scalability, being able to adapt to the future, because we have far bigger plans than what we're talking about right now. And so, when we have some of these folks come on, like we're talking, one of the first conversations is, what do we look like 18 months down the road? Or, it's like, that's really important. That's the kind of folks we want to have in here working with us. And I appreciate you being here. I really appreciate it, because I don't think everybody understands how valuable you are for the space and this project. And I think a lot of people are going to benefit from your professionalism and experience within the space. So thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I mean, with all sincerity, like it doesn't always get recognized, and I don't do the sexiest thing in marketing. And I certainly have a lot of assets, resources that I refer to for, do you want to do sexy pops with marketing? But my focus has always been around building scalable teams and executing short-term campaigns that continue to like allow us to build the teams for the long-term solution. And that's why I work as a CMO and build around that level, because my focus is on the entire department and actually the revenue to driving side of the business to try to create structure around that. And I have to say, one of the most fun things for me has been increasingly decentralizing that and trying to do that in I'd hate to say unique because it's becoming more common, but in a global way. And I've just felt fortunate through my career that I've been, for the last 13 years, I've been able to do that and work on multinational teams all focused on similar goals. And often this, just changing the idea of what's a normal investment vehicle or what's a normal way to interact with, the digital part of our lives.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I think what I see with you and your team especially is the fact, and this is what I look for in some of my businesses in real life as well, is having a team that's willing to be able to adapt to change on a split second. You're like, oh gosh, we gotta switch it up here. Let's go. I see that immediately from when we first talked to you. It was on the first conversation. And that was behind closed doors. But just so everybody knows, I was on that first conversation and getting to be on video and kind of exchange good talks and right away at the right when we were done talking about kind of ourselves and introductions, I heard he was like, okay, core team, you can leave, let's get right to work. And I was like, wow, okay, I love it, this is great. So I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, and I think you kind of hit on it too there, that like, to me, the structure of marketing is listening and reacting more than anything else, and I started off initially as a salesperson, so like it had a viewpoint on that my whole business is to understand you, the community, and you, the audience, and what you guys want, and oftentimes translate that back to the team as much as it is and into the product as much as it is translating what we're doing as a product to you. So very, very try to be very reactive. And I guess the other way that you continue to be successful on this long term is constantly looking for and building a network of high quality people around you that stay close to the culture. So I'm always appreciative of my opportunity to do that. And if anyone within this audience is looking to break into Web3 marketing, sales, BD, any of that stuff, like don't be afraid to reach out. I'm happy to share what I can and to help build you in. And of course, whenever you're building a strong project-based community, you're looking for people within the community that want to help as well. So right now we could all use it. So appreciate it. You all do.
Absolutely. Nice. Yeah. And we do have a couple questions here too. I think this one's
well, real quick, actually, Fargan has had his hand up for a minute, so I'm going to invite him up on stage and see if he has a question or anything.
Perfect.
So we'll see if he wants to join up. I just sent him the invite to speak. He dropped out. Fargan, if you want to come up, you can raise your hand again. I'll let you come on up if you have a question or anything. If not, we can just roll on to the Mad Hatter's question.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and pivot to that. He says, he's asking you, Grady, how does the fact this gives exposure to commodities such as gold and silver change your approach, if at all, versus how you might tackle a standard DeFi project? Does this bring unique challenges?
That's a great question. Right away, I think challenge.
I think we lost you. You're cutting out.
Oh, sorry. Am I better now?
Yeah, better.
Yeah, I moved away from the mic. I think opportunities is a better word than challenges whenever you talk about that, because it creates a translation aspect that makes it a lot easier for us to communicate. Like when you're strictly related to DeFi tokens or assets in general, I've done some work in the metaverse space as well. So there you have a really limited audience that's limited by the capability and understanding of what you're actually building and selling. When you talk about backed assets like gold, silver, bronze, and other commodities in general too, commodity trading is one of the oldest oldest indexes, and I'm just north of Chicago. Like that, the commodity trading exchange down there is one I think the oldest in the U.S. So it's like it opens up a big market to other alternative audiences, because for them, instead of by talking about a backed commodity now, or a token backed commodity, like we've already got a lot of the explaining done. It's really just the vehicle that changes. And I don't think, like personally, that if I was talking to some of the, it's a bad example here, but like if I'm talking to like farmers who are very adapt to like understanding commodity and commodity pricing, like, and I start to explain what a digital asset token is versus an ETF, I personally don't think that it's that much more difficult to go one way versus the other. And so you just keep it focused on the things that people understand. I guess the other aspect too is whenever, in my opinion, whenever one of the lessons I've learned from the Canadians actually is that when you're dealing with anything that you believe will become a regulated security at some point, or like has the potential, and any I'm not going to say anything else about that right now, but I will say the best thing you can do is talk about the performance of similar products. So this allows us to really talk about like the asset classes of commodities like gold and silver and diamonds, and how they've traditionally long been investable asset classes, particularly as a hedge against inflation and things. And certainly that's a very standardized narrative across the North American audience that we can lean into and now provide. Again, it's just the wrapper that changes more than anything else.
Yep. Yeah, I liked what you said, hedge against inflation, because I've said that in the past as well, and it is the truth. I mean, if you look at the markets now, you can see it. So, I mean, just recently, PAX-G made a pretty decent run, and at that time there was a flip on the USDC. So,
yeah,
yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's a good point.
I think a note too there is that, like, as we talk about audiences a little bit, I think there's a lot of opportunity in this space, like digital asset investing as a whole, kind of, which in my mind is a different layer than what people that are crypto consumers are. Again, I think that's a lot more like token following, and it's a lot more NFT projects and things like that, looking for the pops. And then you've got digital asset investors who have been doing this for a while and understand like how these vehicles really make sense. These are also, I think, the same type of people that do native token buying pretty frequently. And then you add another market into there that really grew up in the last cycle, which is yield farming and such. So I think these are all really approachable market segments that, to be honest, if you ask about major changes beyond that packaging, I think we start to approach those markets first, or more heavily coming out of the pre-sale. And really, that's where I think we're going to find a strong community that's going to continue to drive into the actual token launch itself and drive us several tokens after that.
Yeah. I see NP's on the stage here. NP, are you with us? Or I didn't know if, yeah, it looks like he is. Do you have anything to add, buddy?
Not at the moment. I think you guys covered a lot of nice things. I also maybe would like to say that I think the marketing plan is actually really, really very solid. Now that we have a lot more, let's just say, hands on deck to handle the execution of a lot of the ideas to be had, it seems that the pre-sale as well as the launch and the post-launch boost, like marketing campaign that we'll be doing, I'm quite excited to get on it, actually.
Yeah, me too. Me as well.
Definitely.
It's looking really good. I feel like we kind of pushed towards the side to be conservative. So, I don't want this project to be, some hype machine that, we're trying to get everybody on. We focus on a lot of organic growth as well. And I think that's focused more on the long term.
Correct. Totally 100% agree. I think that's the reason why we have this, the 3 phases of the community growth events. So I guess this can be a little bit of alpha drop. Right now we're running the second community event, but there will be a third one. And if you've, for the audience, if you guys have been noticing the trend of the increasing rewards or prizes as well as the engagement, I guess you can expect something really cool for the third one. And then moving into launch phase, of course, we'll have another one.
Good alpha NP.
Yeah,
Cool.
exactly. And I just wanted to chime in on part of the thing that attracted me to this too is expectations of the team and their understanding of where they fit in the kind of the culture as it is right now in the entire market as a whole. And that's why like it gives me confidence to work with a project like that that's really focused on being strong, organic, and developing a strong base, and knowing that like the goal right now is to create that base and scale out into the markets as the markets start to change. I hate to say recover because I don't I don't know that we're ready. All finance markets are ready to recover yet, but I do know that like they're building to maintain throughout the cycle and be a bigger part of the next. So that's what's exciting to me.
No, thanks, man. Appreciate that insight too. I know it's kind of we're running up on some 40 minutes here, and we got a lot of work to do on the back end. So, Chrome, I don't know if you got anything you want to touch on.
No, I think that's it. I think we should probably wrap up here. Just as you said, we got a lot to do, busy day, busy week ahead of us. So I think we pretty much covered everything here. I think it's about time we could wrap up, and then we'll be back at it. So yeah, this was
Awesome.
recorded. So if anybody missed any segments or anything or wants to listen back, it'll be posted up on YouTube within probably 2 to 3 hours. I just have to render and get it up and uploaded. Yeah, thank you so much, Grady, for coming up and taking the time to do this. I know we got lots of work to do, so we'll be getting right at it after this. But definitely appreciate the time, and I hope the community enjoyed it as well because we're super, super excited for everything to come in these coming weeks. So it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Grady. Appreciate it, man.
You got it. Thanks, everybody. And like I said, remember, marketing is a conduit for the community. So let us know how we can continue to support you and build out. And we're all in this together. So thanks, guys.
All right, guys.
Well, we'll all chat soon. We got lots of AMAs this week, so mark your calendars and be prepared because there will be so much more to come and giveaways as well and some more future AMAs. So yeah, stay tuned for those. And thanks again, Grady. We'll chat soon.
All right. Cheers, everybody. Thank you.
Cheers.